What is good, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new Amazon video. Today I'm going to be discussing 5 tips for stowers, whether you're new or maybe whether you've even been here for a little bit and you just want to learn some more tips. I'm going to be discussing that in today's video. But before we do get started, if you haven't entered my 800 subscriber giveaway, go ahead and go past a couple of videos. I'll also put the link in the description down below. Enter that before it ends. I still don't have an end date, but just make sure we get some more entries. So you could win 3 Amazon gift cards, a Master Chief Funko Pop, and FIFA points. So if you haven't entered already, go ahead and enter there. And then another thing, I will be changing my YouTube username and profile picture soon. So if you do see me change, or if you see like a new channel on your subscription box, do not worry, do not unsubscribe. That is just me. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but yeah, let's get straight into this video. So a couple of these tips maybe you have heard in training. There will be some that I know you haven't, but you might not have heard some of these in training. I'm hoping that you do learn something new, but at the same time, some of these tips, I do hope that your trainers taught you this, or else they weren't good trainers. But we're gonna start off with number 1, which is when you're stowing, go from the top left corner of the pod all the way to the bottom right corner of the pod. If you have a box of smalls, a good box of smalls, like maybe there's like 80 in there, make sure that you go from the very top left of the pod all the way down to the bottom right in order. So you're gonna go this way, and then you're gonna go down to the next row this way, and then you're gonna go down to the next row this way. I don't know if they teach that in training anymore after they made checkerboarding no longer a thing. If you're new, don't worry, you don't need to know about checkerboarding anymore. But I don't know if they still teach that, but hopefully they do. If you have a big box of smalls, maybe there's like 30 or 80 items, like I said, that helps out a lot to put those into each bin, going 1, 1, 1, 1. Get on your ladder, go ahead and do the first top row, do the second row. Maybe you can get off your ladder by then. Just go down each row by row. Make sure you are doing that if you have a good box of smalls, because that will not only maximize the amount of items that you're putting in there and raise your units per phase, but it'll also just help make you go faster. As easy as it is to just let the pod go by, put some in the middle row and skip it and go on to the next pod, it's a lot faster, and you'll lower your attack time a lot more if you're able to just go boom, 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 as opposed to just boom, 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 boom in the middle and then passing on to the next one and waiting for it to come. And you also reduce pod weights. So definitely follow that tip. Now for the second tip, it kind of goes along with the first one. If you do have a big box of smalls, do not waste it on one pod only. Never do that if you have a box of smalls. Maybe you have like 20 or more. Never waste the entire box of smalls on one single pod. And the reason for that is because when you get that box of smalls, if you get like 20 or 30 in a box of smalls, it'll bring like 3 drives to you immediately, because they know you got that box of smalls. So it'll already bring 3 drives to you. And if you only have that one single box of smalls and maybe the rest of your boxes are medium, you do not want to use just one pod, because once that next pod comes, you're gonna have to turn it away, and your pod turn away will raise. Remember, you're supposed to keep your pod turn away below 15%, so you definitely want to maximize the amount of pods you're using. So if you can, even if you can fit all of the items in that one smallest box into that one pod, I would recommend against it. If you do have a lot of them, just go ahead and put maybe like half or maybe a quarter in there, go on to the next pod, and just keep going until you leave about 1 or 2 small items left. And after that, you can go ahead, pass the pod that's next to you, and you'll have at least one more small drive come. And when that small drive comes, you can then put the remaining of those, empty that container, throw the box away, and you're good. Because after that, once you only have 1 or 2 small items left in that box, it'll probably only leave 1 drive left, and you can go ahead and put the remaining items in there, and you won't have to worry about pod turn away anymore after that. So it's a lot simpler if you do it that way. Reduces pod turn away, keeps the managers away from you, and you're all good. So for tip number 3, I know they do teach this tip in training, and that is to not turn your back, use your legs, bend with the knees, all that stuff. Now I am going to reiterate this because it is so important. I know they teach it in training and maybe it doesn't seem as important at the time, but trust me, you will want to follow this rule. I'm just going to give a little bit of an example here. So let's say you guys are my big stowing pod that I'm going to put items into, and this is my stow line where I have boxes that the water spider is giving me. They want you to step towards it and pick up the item, and instead of just putting it into the box like this, you're doing a lot of back twisting right there. Instead of doing that, they want you to do a full step over, head towards the bin, and then put it in. I know this seems like a lot of work, and it is a lot easier to just do this all day. Have your items, putting them in like that. It's so much easier to do that all day. But in training, they teach you this for a reason, and that's because that will mess up your back really bad. I am speaking from experience. I am one of the people who finds it so much easier, and a little bit lazy, honestly, of me. It's a little bit lazy for me to do this. I'm one of the people who find it so much easier to just grab the item and stuff it like this, grab the item and stuff it like this. But look, I mean, you can't see the bottom half of my body. My back is twisted a lot when I do that move. It's a lot easier if you listen to what they tell you. I know it's a more work and it'll probably take some energy out of you, but trust me, please do that, because I'm speaking from experience. My back already hurt before I started working here. My back hurts considerably more. My spine just feels like twisted basically. Sometimes I have to remind myself that I need to listen to what they said. I know this is a very basic tip, but please follow it for your back's sake, or your back will end up hurting months into Amazon. Also, bend at the knees. Do that when you're picking up anything, no matter how light it is, bend at the knees. I don't have to explain that to you. You guys know that. Do it, because your back will be in severe pain if you don't, like very, very severe pain. But yeah, I know that was a little bit of a basic tip, but it's one that I just have to reiterate to you guys, because trust me, it is very, very important. But for tip number 4, I'm going to be talking about bin health. I'm going to be discussing a little bit of things about this. The first one is do not overstuff your bins. I know they also teach this in training, or at least they should at your location. Never overstuff your bins, and the reason for this is if you have an item fall out on the floor because you overstuffed it, even if it's not your item, it will be your fault. It will be your responsibility, because you were the last person to stow into that pod. So do not overstuff, because when you overstuff, you're risking things falling out of the pod, and you will be the one who gets in trouble. You will get a coaching, and they'll talk to you and say, hey, stop doing this, basically. They do it a lot, especially when you're new. You might make this mistake a couple of times, but just try and make sure not to overstuff the bin. I know it's a lot easier to stow, and it'll raise your attack time a lot faster if you're just constantly overstuffing, but not only will you get yourself in trouble doing that, you could possibly damage the items at Amazon as well. And then lastly, you're just helping your coworkers, the pickers, who have to go through those pods and dig out and grab an item. It's really, really annoying. Trust me, I've done pick before. It's really, really annoying if the pod or the bin that they're trying to reach into is super, super overstuffed. There's a bunch of stuff in there, and they're sitting there looking through. It takes a lot of time, makes their tack time go way, way up. So have some respect for your fellow co-workers, and just do not overstuff bins. And another thing about bin health that I want to talk about is do not stow into a bin that looks like something's wrong in there. Like, let's say the bin is already overstuffed. Obviously don't stow into that. But one that I really want to talk about is books. So you're supposed to stow books with the title facing outwards and standing straight up. If you see let's say you have a 12-inch pod come, and if you see a book in there that is laying flat, maybe like a dictionary or something big like that that's laying flat, and you can't turn that upwards and make it standing up straight how it's supposed to be, do not stow into that pod. Even if you weren't the one who put the book there, even if you weren't the one to put the book there, do not stow into that pod, because if you stow something into that pod, like the book is laying flat and you stow something on top of the pod, on top of that book, or just anywhere near that book, you will be the one to get in trouble for that book. They will say it was your responsibility, because what they do is the system knows that you were the last person to stow into that pod, and once the system recognizes that the book is laying flat, even if you didn't put it in there, they'll still come to you. You will be the one that gets the documented coaching, not the person who stowed the book flat in there. So my recommendation and my tip here is please do not stow on. If you see something wrong with a bin, don't stow into it, especially if there is a book that's laying flat and it's and you can't turn it upwards. Don't stow into those things. Honestly, what I do is when that comes and I see a book there, even if that is the only bin I can stow into, I won't do it. I'll turn it around and I'll go on to the next pod. Because I've had so many documented coachings where they came up to me, they showed me the picture of the pod, and they're like, hey, what's wrong with this, basically, and then they explain the book's laying flat. And so a lot of them do know, I know it wasn't you, but you were the last person to touch this bin, so please don't do it again. So sometimes they do know that it wasn't you that did that, but you will be blamed for it regardless. And number 5 is a life hack that I know a lot of you don't know, and I know they do not teach this in training. At least my managers didn't, and I've never seen anyone learn this in training. This is really, really a life hack. Now, I will say this only works on Nike stations. Nike stations are the one where you grab the item and you just go and put it into the bin, because it'll automatically be scanned by the overhead scanner. And Legacy stations are the one where you have the actual guns and you're scanning the items and then scanning the bins. This only works for the first one, the Nike stations, is if you are not stowing, maybe you're waiting for pods to come, or you're gonna go to the restroom or anything like that. Whatever you're doing that's making you not stow, press empty container on the screen. So on the screen, I can't show you the screen obviously because I'm not at work right now, but on the screen it'll say empty containers, view containers, problem solve or problem menu. It'll say all that stuff on the bottom of your screen. press empty container if you're not stowing at the moment, because what that does is it pauses your tack time and it'll reduce your tack time drastically throughout the day. I worked here for the first like 8 months without knowing that that was a thing. I always saw people whenever they went to the restroom, I always saw them walk off. They always pressed empty container first and then they went to the restroom. I never knew what that did until I found out that what that does is reduce your tack time. It basically freezes the tack time for as long as you're pressing empty container. So if your tack time is like, let's say 12 seconds and then you want to go to the restroom, go press empty container before you go. Just leave it like that, put the belt on your station, go use the restroom, come back, take off empty container, stow immediately, and you'll notice that the tack time doesn't drop at all. Maybe it drops by like a 50th of a second or something like that, but for the most part, it'll stay the same. It'll stay in that 12, 13 area. It will reduce tack time. It basically is a life hack to freeze tack time so that you can go to the restroom and come back with the same amount of tack time. Now, I will say one thing, do not think that this means that you can just go to work, stow one item, press empty container and just chill out for the rest of the time, because what this doesn't do is reduce your time off task. It doesn't reduce that. That still stays recorded. So if you go to the restroom for like 10 minutes, you'll still have 10 minutes of time off task, but your tack time will be much lower. And this will help you not only reach your rates, it'll help you stay up there in that like upper 50% or whatever percent that you usually make. This will help you stay up there. And overall, it's just a really cool hack that I didn't know about, that I feel like more people should know about. Always press empty container if you're gonna stop stowing for whatever reason, whether it's the restroom or you're waiting. But yeah, at the end, those are the 5 hacks that I can give you guys. I could really give so much more on stowing. So if you want to see a part 2, leave a like and comment down below for a part 2. I could definitely see myself doing another one of these, but yeah, I know some of these were a little bit basic. I just wanted to reiterate a lot of them, and then there was some hacks in there that I think that a lot of people don't know about that they should know about. But yeah, those were the 5 tips for new stowers. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe down below. Let's try to hit 1K by the end of the year. And like I said earlier, if you're not already entered the giveaway, go ahead and enter that giveaway. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. I love you all. Peace.